Hey guys, today we're talking about something really personal, really eye-opening, and honestly kind of painful, but also really validating. And that is 10 signs that you were raised by a toxic, narcissistic parent. And before you go, oh, that sounds a bit extreme, I want you to hear this. If you grew up always feeling like the black sheep, or you were the good child, who was praised one day and ignored the next, or if setting boundaries as adult now makes you feel physically sick, then this might explain why. Because narcissistic abuse doesn't always look loud. It's not always yelling and slamming doors. And sometimes it's actually really subtle and confusing and so woven into your childhood that you don't even realize that it was abuse. So let's get into it. Sign number one. You were the family peacekeeper. You learned to smooth things over from a young age. Perhaps you were parentified. You had to stand between them, making sure that they didn't fight and that everything relied on you in terms of the peace in the house. You could read that room instantly. You could tell by the way they closed a drawer, whether it was a good day or a leave quietly and make yourself invisible day. Well, that wasn't being emotionally mature. That was surviving chaos. And yes, that is exhausting. Okay. Sign number two. You don't trust your memory anymore. You say things like, did I make that up? Or maybe I overreacted, because, guys, you were gaslit constantly while your brain was still growing. You were gaslit by the most important role model in your life. You were told that you were too sensitive, or you were imagining things, even when you had the receipts, literal proof. They would deny it. So now you second guess yourself by default. You don't trust your gut because you were trained not to. Sign number three. You feel so guilty when you set boundaries, even when it's a really basic one, like, I don't want to talk about that, or I just need some space. Things that normal people don't feel uncomfortable with. Your body reacts like you've done something wrong. And that's because growing up, boundaries for you were punished. Slammed doors, silent treatments, or worse, emotional blackmail. Now you associate self-protection with abandonment. Sign number four. You were the golden child, the scapegoat, or you were both. One minute you were being praised like you were the best thing ever, and the next they acted like you were the reason the whole family was falling apart. It was all your fault. You never really knew which version of them you were going to get. And as a result, you became a chameleon, constantly adapting just to stay safe. Line number five, you over-explain everything. Like someone asks you a simple question and suddenly you're 5 minutes deep into backstory and disclaimers. It takes you 10 minutes to write an email to someone saying that you can't go because you don't want to hurt their feelings. You're not annoying. You were trained to justify everything because growing up, you had to. If you didn't explain your feelings, defend your choices, or plead your case like a lawyer, you were dismissed, or even worse. Point number six, your self-worth is tied to achievement. You might be a high achiever, a perfectionist, always doing, always performing, because when you were little, love had conditions. It was something they gave to you with strings attached. It was transactional. Love only came when you were impressive. You were only valuable when you were useful. So now resting feels wrong. You don't feel worthy unless you're proving something to someone. Sign number 7, you suppress your emotions, especially the big ones. Sad, stuff it down. Angry, swallow it. Excited, tone it down, because you learned early that feelings were unsafe. You were not allowed to express your feelings. And if you did, you were told that you were wrong, or you were punished for having feelings. Maybe they mocked you. Maybe they did punish you, even physically. Maybe they just didn't care enough to even listen. Now you struggle to name your own emotions, let alone express them. Sign number 8, you feel responsible for other people's moods. Like if someone's upset, you feel like you've done something wrong, even if it's got nothing to do with you. You carry this guilt, this stress and emotional weight that doesn't belong to you, because back then your parent made their emotions your job. Sign number 9, you're terrified of being abandoned, even in good relationships. Even when it's going well, there's this feeling in your chest like any minute now they're going to leave. Guys, that's because you learned that love equals unpredictability. They might leave at any time, and you have to do everything in your power to make sure they don't leave. And of course, you're an adult now, so you feel like you can tolerate more, and you've got more power as an adult. 1 minute it's warm, the next it's cold. So now consistency feels foreign, even uncomfortable, even boring. Sign number 10, you don't really know who you are. You spent your childhood shape-shifting, becoming what they needed, adapting to survive. So now when someone asks you what you want or who are you really, you go blank. But that blankness, it's not emptiness, it's space, it's your trauma. Space to actually rediscover who you are without fear, without performing, and without condition. Now, guys, if all of this or any of this sounds just a little too familiar to you and you're nodding along, you're not being dramatic, you are not overreacting. You're someone who survived an emotionally unsafe childhood. We're not talking about isolated incidents. We're talking about consistent patterns of behavior, and your survival, that is no small thing. But the best part, you're here now, you're waking up, and you get to choose something different. You get to stop abandoning yourself just to keep someone else comfortable. You get to say no and not explain. You don't have to write out that email anymore that takes you 10 hours so that you make sure it's got all the right words that the other person will appreciate. You get to unlearn the guilt. You get to reclaim your space. Slowly, steadily, you will remember who you really are. Okay, if this video resonated with you, please give it a like so YouTube shows it to more people who need it. Please leave a comment below and tell me, did any of these hit home for you? Don't forget also, guys, to hit that subscribe button for weekly videos and follow me so you never miss an episode on healing, trauma recovery, and finally learning what real love feels like. And if you want to go even deeper, grab a copy of my best-selling book, Fake Love. The link is in the description. And of course, don't forget to tune into my podcast, Fake Love and Flying Monkeys, wherever you get your podcasts. You deserve peace. You deserve clarity. You deserve to feel safe being exactly who you are. See you in the next one.